There's approximately 40 million cryptocurrencies out there. That is significantly more than all the stocks you could ever think of. But why are there so many cryptocurrencies, and how is it possible to differentiate between any of them? That's exactly what we're going to talk about in this video. Now, you might be surprised by how many cryptos are out there, but realistically, it is really easy to tell those apart and to know exactly what's going on here. On the one side, we have the OG cryptocurrency, Bitcoin. Bitcoin was built as a proof of work cryptocurrency. When you look at all the different proof of work cryptocurrencies out there, they actually aren't that many. These are probably the most demanding cryptocurrencies because they require real hardware, who does real work, and essentially does quite a bit of processing, and on the side uses a lot of electricity. So proof of work cryptocurrencies has and were extremely popular because it allows people to have real equipment and make real money or digital money with their equipment. It was a one-to-one trade-off for your hardware into digital currency. Now, the other cryptocurrency that is really popular is Ethereum. Now, some people might not know, but Ethereum actually was a proof of work cryptocurrency. Now, they changed or forked from the proof of work algorithm, from a proof of work algorithm to a proof of stake algorithm, which works quite differently. Rather than having hardware, now it requires staking your Ethereum to essentially be allowed to do the same thing, which is keeping processing transactions, and running nodes, which is essentially a computer that keeps a perfect record of that blockchain. Now, here's where things get really interesting, because the reason why we have millions and millions of cryptocurrencies is due to something called tokens. Now, I want to mention there are a few extra ways of running these different cryptocurrencies or blockchains, right? There is proof of storage, there's proof of useful work. You're going to hear so much more, but they all kind of fall into the others category. Now, the one that has caused so many cryptocurrencies to pop up left and right, which really only happened over the past couple of years with Solana becoming really popular, is called tokens. Now, tokens do not have their own blockchain. These tokens are actually based on an underlying layer 1 cryptocurrency or blockchain itself. So when you ever come across a token, like something simple, we can go with something like Pengu. Some people may have heard of Pengu. It is a meme coin. It is, somewhat popular. A token like that is not on its own blockchain, but it uses the Ethereum blockchain to essentially build a piece of value or a piece of code on top of Ethereum. Now, Pengu can live on Ethereum, and Pengu uses Ethereum for all of these transactions, but Pengu has its own set of rules that it needs to follow. Pengu does not have an emission schedule like Ethereum does, right? Ethereum creates new coins over and over again through the staking mechanism that is built into the chain. Pengu itself is really just a set of rules, a token that was created, and this token you can transfer from A to B by purchasing or by paying in Ethereum. These are really interesting because there's a lot of different tokens that can now build additional rules into their little token, into their tiny little ecosystem. Now, this is where things get really tricky, and this is where people tend to sometimes lose a lot of money, because what can happen is that malicious players now can add a lot more rules into these kind of things. That's where we see things called rug pulls, where essentially people pull the liquidity away under you, which means you cannot sell the coin because the other piece, the liquidity, is not there anymore, right? We also see certain things like people being unable to sell their cryptocurrency. We see people changing the contract for the set of rules that was built for that token, right? There's a lot of different things going on when it comes to these tokens. But this is where most people don't understand how these cryptocurrencies work. You have blockchains, you have technologies that are built fundamentally different. They come with their own set of rules, and these rules are baked into the source code of that underlying blockchain. And then you have tokens that are built on top of these cryptocurrencies. Now, at some point, you might come across layer 2 cryptocurrencies, which is kind of a hybrid and in between. These layer 2 cryptocurrencies are their own ecosystem. They're not built on top of a crypto, but what they do is they bundle up a lot of different transactions and put them into one transaction on a layer 1 cryptocurrency. For example, something like Polygon or Matic was a really popular layer 2 cryptocurrency that used Ethereum as its base layer. Now, what they did is they created their own blockchain, but they didn't finalize these transactions on their own blockchain, but they bundled them together and said, hey, once we have X amount of token or X amount of transactions on our layer, on our currency, we take these and we make it one big transaction on the Ethereum as the base layer. That was really interesting, and it really saved a lot of cost, because if you've been around in 2019, 2020, 2021, you know that Ethereum used to be extremely expensive, and this was one way to get the cost really, really low. There was people paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars just to make one transaction on Ethereum. It was absolutely insane. So next time you come across a random coin or a random token, just ask yourself, is this a token that was just created on Solana, which is a meme token that anyone can spin up? Or could there potentially be more to this token? Maybe it is fundamentally a really, really awesome project. Now you can research. Now you can see what they're trying to do. Now you can see what their source code looks like. Now you can see what the development is on there. You can see how many people participate in terms of staking, in terms of TVL, or also in terms of mining hardware if it is a proof of work cryptocurrency. Now, personally, I'm a cryptocurrency miner. I'm really passionate about crypto mining, and I really like seeing new proof of work projects, because what I love is developers that put all their time, their heart, and effort into new projects, because they are trying to fundamentally build something that they really like, that they love, that they're passionate about. Because in the end of the day, cryptocurrency is not a currency. Neither is it a stock. And neither is it just something like a commodity. It is something really unique. And this is what I really like about crypto. No one knows how to value crypto realistically, because when it comes to stock, they have earnings, they make decisions, they have projected future growth. It is relatively easy to value a stock based on today, right? Today's value. But it is extremely difficult to properly value a cryptocurrency, because it is a speculative asset, and these cryptocurrencies are not matured yet, which means a lot of people don't even know they exist. If everyone knew that they exist, they would probably be worth a lot more. So I hope this clarifies it. If you got any questions, follow me, leave a comment. I'm here to answer any kind of questions, because just like you, I love cryptocurrency. I've been here for a really long time, and I want to answer all the questions you have.